Okay, we're going to get started. Can we hear me okay? Microphone good? Is the microphone okay? There we go. Good evening. Welcome to the Board of Adjustment meeting for Wednesday, November 13th. We're going to start our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Jason, if you could please lead us.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jimmy, if you could please take a roll call.
Mr. Jones?
Here.
Mr. Mead? Ms. Rathburn? Mr. Stressow?
Here.
Mr. Wolf? Mr. Hergopian?
Here.
And Chair Elfman.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Bert, if you could please introduce your staff.
Bert Ford, zoning chief. To my left is James Hollingsworth, one of my plans examiners. Shaquilla Crawford, senior administrative aide, and then around the corner is Karen Sabalo, administrative aide. And to my right, I'll let the city attorney announce himself.
Good evening. I'm Dwayne Spence, interim city attorney. Chair, before we begin, I just wanted to note for the record that the board has a quorum of just 5 members. For those who have items on the agenda, please be aware that this board requires a majority +1 to approve any orders, which means you will need a vote of 4 members tonight to pass your items. So you should be aware of that. That is the threshold for the vote tonight and tonight's meeting. All right.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes, unless anybody has any changes they'd like to reflect.
So moved. Second.
Okay, no changes? Okay, Jamie?
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Rathburn? Yes. Mr. Stressow?
Yes.
Mr. Hergopian?
Yes.
And Chair Elfman.
Yes.
Pass 5.
Thank you. So for each member of the public that wishes to speak after each item is presented and discussed, you'll have 3 minutes per items. Any representatives, associations, and groups will have 5 minutes. If I could ask that you please swear in whoever's wished to speak.
Anyone intending to speak, please stand, raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm any testimony you give at this public hearing will be truthful and accurate? Say yes. Thanks.
Thank you. First case number 2404001, 2436 Cat Lane. Before you get started, I'm going to ask for disclosures. Milton?
Don't have any.
Fred?
I had a site visit several meetings ago.
Okay. I had site visit several meetings ago as well. Jason?
No.
Pat?
None.
Okay. Sir, if you could please state your name, relation to the property, and go from there.
Yes, good evening. My name is Mario Tatra. I own 2436 Cat Lane. By way of introduction, we first applied back in March. It seems like forever ago. At that time, we were seeking variances for the shed and a carport. Since then, we've abandoned the carport because we applied for a permit. And so tonight, we're just seeking variances for this shed. And if you recall, just as a little background, we fell short by 1 vote last time. One of the board members moved to consolidate the variances and approve the variances. After some discussion, there was some confusion. We lost by 1 vote. But then we applied for a rehearing, and that was granted because of the confusion. So we're here just for the shed. In 2022, we purchased the home at 2436 Cat Cay for 1.2, and it had a 10 by 20 shed in the back. The seller and the broker represented that shed was additional living space, and they staged it appropriately. It looked like another room. Seller and broker lied, obviously, which caused us to file a lawsuit for fraud. But we closed because there were no violations, no open permits. And then we realized that the city did not allow a shed to be a additional living space. And so we were violated at that point. Even though the prior seller had pulled a permit for the shed, and it was approved in the same location, in the same dimensions as it sits 12 years later. We didn't touch it, we didn't modify it, we didn't move it. It's the same place where it was approved. In fact, it was approved by George Oliva, coincidentally, the current head of permitting, back in 2012. In fact, in the photographs that the city has, there is photographs of the existing shed, again, the same location and the same dimensions. So once the city violated us and told us there can no be storage, we went ahead and pulled it, we removed the AC and just used it as storage. In fact, there's a photograph or several photographs in the package that shows that it's just used as storage today. The unique hardship, obviously, is that we didn't create any of this. We bought it. Basically, in fact, it caused us hardship because we had to file a lawsuit. It cost a lot of money, time, and aggravation, as you can well imagine. So what we're asking, and obviously if we have to remove it, we're going to incur additional costs in removing the shed from the home. So we're asking tonight for those variances to allow the shed to remain where it has for the last 12 years.
Okay, thank you, sir. Let me see if there's any members of the public. We'll bring it back to the board afterwards. Is there anybody from the public wishing to speak to this matter? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. I'd like to bring it back to the board with any questions or comments. Okay, anybody would like to make a motion?
Jump in, Pat. Yeah, go ahead.
Just put on the microphone first.
Otherwise, we're going to be here all night.
Yeah, well, we're going to be here all night anyway. But, okay, so you're requesting 3 variances, correct?
That is correct. 3 variances for the shed.
Yeah.
Because it's on one side, it's too close to the house, too
Right.
close. Yeah.
Okay, so, which is what caused the confusion the last time, is that we heard them all, or we voted on them all at the same time, so I want to separate them out.
No, I'm sorry. The confusion was that we're asking for variances for the shed and the carport. And so the motion was to consolidate all of them and vote them to
okay.
approve. This time, it's just the shed,
Okay.
so it can remain exactly where it is today.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a question.
And Board, if I could just clarify.
Yes, please.
So just first point is George Oliva is retired, but he was not the head of the permitting. That's the building official who's head of that. He was a chief for the enforcement division. The other one is that the permit was issued with 5-foot setbacks, and both the rear and the side yard setbacks are less than what was permitted, so it wasn't installed according to the permit. And also the permit was for a 10 by 10,
Yeah.
and a 10 by 20 was installed. So I just want the facts to be straight.
That was the question that I was going to ask, that the permit was for a 10 by 10, this is a 10 by 20, and you've clarified further that the permit would have had it within the setbacks. If it had been a 10 by 10, it would have been within the 5-foot setback, correct?
It would have been 5 foot away from both, and they're both in the setback.
Okay. All right, so the first motion is to approve the variance requesting the reduction from the 10-foot required distance separation to 8.9 feet.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you finding that it meets the criteria?
I'm just making the motion. Here.
I'll second it so we can move it.
Okay. Any discussion?
It's a minimum variance, but I don't, and, he's already had a lawsuit over what it was. It isn't what was permitted. I don't see that it meets the criteria.
Okay.
We meet the undue hardship, I believe.
Well,
If we had added, if there was a 10 by 10 shed and then we put a 10 by 20 shed, then you can say, we did that. But it was approved, the city knew exactly it was a 10 by 20. Look at the city's file. There's a picture of the exact shed, 10 by 20, not 10 by 10. So why it wasn't corrected then, I don't know, but I shouldn't be suffering because there was an error 12 years ago. I was a bona fide purchaser. If there was something that showed up on the title search, we would have resolved it, but there was nothing. So we bought the property as is, and as it is, we required a lawsuit against the seller, which is not your issue, obviously, but we've had to do a lot just to get this thing, without, and we're incurring all these fines since day one. I think it's like 18 months now. We've been violated, and we're incurring cost. So I just want to get to trying to get this thing resolved and move forward. I want to get out of violation.
And Board, I'm just going to concur with what he just said, is that it was the previous owner who installed the shed and didn't comply with all the regulations. It
So
wasn't
it
him.
was an error on the part of the city to approve the shed as built?
I don't have an answer to that because that inspection was done so long ago. I really don't know why the building inspector approved it. I do know that the building inspector who did approve it wasn't in zoning. It was George Oliva, who is in the enforcement division. I don't know if he just looked at the permit description on the application that said 10 by 10. There were a couple of pictures in there. I don't know if he looked at the pictures, but they aren't representative of what was issued via the application. And the site plan that was supplied on both of those, it specifically says 10 by 10. A couple of pictures that were submitted with the permit do appear to be a 10 by 20, but I know that's kind of subjective on what they thought that might be. But again, I can't answer for why he did that, but I know the application said 10 by 10.
So he wouldn't have physically gone out and looked at this, he would have just looked at the pictures, but more or less,
Yeah,
most likely.
I just don't know how he did the inspection at that time.
Thank you, Bert. And thank you, sir. Anybody else have any questions about the applicant? I know we have a open motion on the table. Okay, in that case, let's take a roll call on the motion, please.
Mr. Jones? No. Ms. Rathburn? Mr. Stressa?
Yes.
Mr. Hagopian?
Yes.
You guys approved a 10 by 20.
Excuse me.
It's a 10 by 10,
And-
and now we're paying for it.
Chair Elfman?
Yes.
So it failed 3-2.
Okay. We did have another motion as well,
Okay.
but it looks like we lost. Okay. Pat, do you want to make a motion on this side yard?
I'm thinking about it, and they were so delightful. But I also think, I was the one who made the original motion. I guess I'm on the prevailing side.
Yes, you are.
Bert sort of changed my mind.
Okay.
So before we continue, I might do a motion to reconsider. Is that an appropriate?
So, Jamie, what was the vote on?
3-2.
I'm a no, so I'm on the prevailing side, aren't I?
No, you're not on the, so it was a motion to approve,
side.
and then it was 3-4 to approve and 2 against. So, no, you weren't. Well, yeah, you
Yeah,
were
yeah,
on prevailing.
because it-
Prevailing because it failed.
It failed?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I'll do a motion to reconsider.
Okay, do we have a
Okay.
second on that motion for reconsideration?
Yes.
Okay. Do we need to roll call on that, or could I do a
Yes,
voice?
please.
Okay, Jamie. Motion to reconsider.
I'm sorry. Mr. Jones? No. Ms. Rathburn?
Yes.
Mr. Stressa?
No.
Mr. Hagopian?
No.
Chair Elfman?
I'm the only other yes.
I'm sorry, did you say yes?
I said yes.
Well, it's
Still failed.
Still fails? Okay.
Yeah.
Oop.
Okay.
So are we just disposing of the others? Are we considering them moot? I mean, there are different variances. So the first variance that you took was with regards to the separation from the principal building, and that was caused because the building was built 10 feet longer than what was approved in the permit. The two remaining are for the side yard setbacks, which is a separate issue.
So can we just make a motion for the two remaining ones?
Pardon me?
One motion for the two remaining ones, which
You
are
can.
decided. Okay, I
Yeah.
make a motion that we approve the balance of the variance request to reduce the 5-foot rear yard setback to 4.5 feet and the side yard setback to 2 feet.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, let's take a vote.
Ms. Rathburn?
No.
Mr. Stressa?
No.
Mr. Hagopian?
No.
Mr. Jones?
No.
And Chair Elfman?
No, motion fails. Okay, next case. Case number 240-70003, 720 Southeast 15th Street. And sir, please state your case and your name.
Applicant for the owner. I've been doing
Excuse
this
me,
work for
Chair,
25 years.
I apologize. Any disclosures?
Sorry, I'm not even on. And I was going to ask some other questions as well, but thank you, D. Wayne. Disclosures, Milton? Fred?
Site visit?
I was a site visit as well. Jason?
Nope.
Pat?
Nothing.
Thank you. And sir, question is, you said you're representative for the owner?
Yes,
Okay, in what capacity?
I'm a zoning consultant.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, this was strictly a mail order job. I had a call from Philadelphia from the owner. I've never met him. Dr. Peratore's father bought the property in 1962 and constructed a duplex. I have a copy in your folder of the certificate of occupancy in the R3 zoning district, which is comparable to the RMM 25 district, which is the modern day zoning district. The duplex was constructed in 1962 for a cost of $15,500. That's what the city records show. I thought that was pretty amazing. As it is, Dr. Peratore's father bought and built the house. In 2020, he passed away. Dr. Peratore found out that he had converted it to a fourplex with no building permits. And he had three of his old buddies living there rent-free. He was kind of taking care of some old folks. Consequently, he passed away. Dr. Peratore received a code enforcement violation for having too many units as well as work without a permit on the interior. So he called me. He found me through the architect. I told him that I would take the case. We knew what he was looking at. And the RM 25 zoning district has slightly larger setbacks for multifamily than it would for a duplex. So we're asking for 4 variances. We're asking for a side yard setback of 2 feet. We're asking for a carport side setback of 4.75 feet. We're asking for a front yard setback of 5 feet. And we're asking for tandem parking. If you've seen the pictures in the report, you can see that there's a carport set back from one of the 4 parking spaces in the front. So now we have a converted unit.
One moment, sir. My application packet I only have 1 variance request. You listed out about 5.
I actually have 4 variance requests.
4? You do? Okay. All right. Sorry.
One request, 4 variances. So all that being said, now Dr. Parator retained an architect. After I looked into the case, I realized that the RM25 district allows 3.8 units on this particular lot. So I knew that 3 units were a possibility. So the architect drew up plans for 3 units for a triplex because we're in a multifamily district. The entire street is all multifamily. So I submitted for the building permits. I hired a general contractor who submitted for the permits. We went through 6 or 8 months of plan review and revisions, and then it went to the zoning and planning department. And wouldn't you know it, they immediately saw that we did not meet the setbacks. So I went in and I had a meeting with Mr. Ford and his staff, and we had the discussion on how to get this resolved. Because of the code enforcement violation, we can't do anything with that until we either gain the variances or we don't. So that's where we're at. I've had 4 60-day extensions from the Code Enforcement Board. They've been working with us. They know that we've been to the building department for our permits. So here we are. On behalf of Dr. Parator, I'm asking for approval for 4 variances to allow the continuation of a triplex in the multifamily zoning district.
Okay, sir, just hang there one moment. Is there anybody from the public wishing to speak on this matter? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to bring it back to the board.
Board, before you guys go any further,
Sure, Bert.
we're looking at the paperwork and we noticed that the notice, the sign, was only for the tandem parking. So you're probably only going to be able to vote on that tonight, and we'll have to bring back the 3 ones that we didn't notice correctly next month. And we'll put that on the agenda. Of course, we won't have a fee associated with that, but I don't know if you can hear that tonight because it wasn't noticed correctly.
Okay, thank you, Bert.
I want to make sure I got that clear. You're taking the tandem parking variance out of tonight's hearing?
No, that's the one we're going to hear, because that's the only one that was properly noticed.
So the setback variances were not noticed?
Apparently not. Correct, Bert? Correct.
Okay.
The material that we have only has the sign with the tandem parking variance listed on the sign, unless you have evidence that you've posted a sign that included the setback variances, then we have an issue.
Can you repeat that, please?
The sign posted at your property, providing the public notice of tonight's hearing, only addressed the tandem parking according to the material that we have. Unless you have any evidence that there was signage that was up at the property that addressed the side yard setbacks.
The signage was posted correctly, if that's the question.
Yeah.
He is saying that it only covers the tandem parking and not the other 3 variances.
I get that. So was that just a publication mistake?
Yeah, right, and so that's why they're saying that.
So what he's asking is that you post 3 additional signs or a second sign that highlights each of the variances.
I did. And I had a lot of confusion on that because Karen Saballo did give me 4 signs. And this property is in the middle of the block, and typically you post a sign on the frontage. And I was confused about that, so I put a sign on every single property line, and the neighbors all called me on that one.
So did you provide a copy of those signs?
I think he's saying he had 4 signs that were the same.
I understand. I just want to make sure we have a copy of that for the record.
I have pictures of the 4 signs posted.
Yeah, that's what they need to see. Do you have the pictures? Do you have the pictures of the signs?
I have them in my phone.
Well,
There
that'll
may
work.
be some in the report that.
I believe staff.
You all have pictures of.
I believe
of
staff
the
is
signs.
confirming that they actually have a copy of it, but they just didn't provide it as part of the backup. So we can.
So we're
So we
okay.
are okay.
You're okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry again.
Okay.
Well, this is a new one.
Well, there we go. Okay, so bring it back to the board. Any questions for the applicant?
So the exterior of this building is the same as it was in 1962?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else have any questions? Fred?
No.
Okay. Okay, in that case, entertain a motion.
Make a motion.
So again, let me clarify one more thing. So this property was built as a duplex.
That's right.
And
Now
as a
it's
duplex within an RMM 25, it has less restrictive setbacks than a multifamily. They've submitted a change of use to change this from a duplex to a multifamily, and they do have the density to do so, but the multifamily has more of a restriction for setbacks. Instead of 5 foot on the sides, it's 10 foot. Instead of 15 in the rear, it's 20. I don't think the rear is an issue, but that's the reason for the problem, is that they're changing use from duplex to triplex. It was permitted originally in compliance with the 5 foot setback.
So the building actually fits what's required. It's the problem of the number of units that are inside the walls that exist.
Yeah, the change of use from a 2-unit duplex to a 3-unit multifamily, which the differentiation is in the ULDR, is what made the problem with the setbacks.
So if this was a duplex,
It's in compliance.
he doesn't need any variances?
No.
So
But
it's the
going
change,
through, adding another unit
it's
created
the
this
increase
issue.
in the density of the required?
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
And does the carport have any influence on that?
Pardon?
The carport, does that have any bearing?
No, just the fact that the setbacks are different for multifamily triplex.
Thank you. We're done? Okay. We'll bring it back for a motion.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, did you do public?
I did. I didn't
You
close
did?
the public hearing, but I'll close the public hearing now. Thank you. Come on, Pat. You know you want to. We'll take the first one
I
first.
think
We'll do them both
while
separate.
Pat's thinking about this, Bert, you do have pictures that show the additional requirements for the variances?
We do. We have it in the backup.
Okay, but we do not.
I think you do it in your electronic backup. It's
Well, fat chance on that.
the other sign is on page 17 of the electronic backup.
Okay, moving forward, Patty.
Okay. Do you want
Let's take them separate.
each one of the variances for the side, for the setbacks?
No,
Or just
we
the
could take them
setback ones and then the tandem parking?
setback ones and then 10 one.
Okay. Make a motion to approve the variance requested to 47-5-36 table of dimensional requirements.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Motion is second. Any discussion? Okay, Jamie?
Ms. Rathburn?
No.
Mr. Stressa?
No.
Mr. Hagopian?
Yes.
Mr. Jones? And Chair Elfman?
No. Motion fails. Let's take the second motion.
Let me ask another question. Bert, if this was a duplex, the tandem would be permitted?
Yes, the ULDR permits tandem parking for single family and duplex only.
Duplex only.
Single family and duplex only.
Okay, thank you. Make a motion to approve the variance from 47-20.10 tandem parking.
Second.
Okay, motion is second. Any discussion? Okay, Jamie?
Mr. Stressa?
No.
Mr. Hagopian?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
No.
Ms. Rathburn?
No.
Chair Elfman?
No, motion fails. Thank you, though, sir.
Am I approved or no?
No,
No.
Denied.
denied.
Okay, so I come back next month for
No.
the setback variances.
No, we actually discussed them as well. You were okay on those. You did post properly.
Okay, I posted properly.
Posted properly, but still denied.
Okay, so my recourse is 0.
Circuit Court.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next case, case number 240-80001, 1110 Northeast Fifth Avenue. Disclosures first, please. Milton? Fred?
Site visit?
I too had a site visit. Jason?
Nothing.
Pat?
Nothing.
Okay.
Hey,
Hi.
good evening. My name is Luis Frediani. I'm at Civil Engineering, representing the client here. We're seeking approval for 1 foot and 5 feet and 5 inches variance on the north side of property. This is a non-conforming lot that has only 25 foot of frontage, and the company who is developing this lot is a container-based company, so they are building upon a container, which is pretty good because it will bring like 0 emissions and like 0 the footprint, the carbon footprint for the construction. So, and as is a container based, the containers, as you know, it's modular, so we cannot reduce the size as it was like a common like brick and mortar. So that's why we're seeking this variance of 1 foot and 5 inches.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anybody from the public wishing to speak on this matter? Yes, sir. If you could please come up and you'll state your name and relation to the property or vicinity to the property.
My name is Randall Klett. I live on Northeast Fifth Avenue in the next block up.
Is there anything that you would like to say? Either
Yes.
for or against? Okay, please.
I don't think this variance should be approved. This neighborhood has all kinds of problems, and cramming an oversized building onto an non-conforming lot is counterproductive, and the parking in the neighborhood is horrible. Putting a duplex there is going to make additional parking issues. And this area is in the midst of redevelopment and zoning, and the houses on either side of it are perfect for combining with this lot to build something that's larger and better and more in line with the 21st century and the vision for the neighborhood. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anybody else wishing to speak? Okay, I'm going to bring it back to the board for any questions. Jason?
So it's going to be a duplex, yes?
Yes.
And you're using, I guess, a sort of container technology here
Yes.
to build the home.
Yes, that's true.
Well, I'm always happy to see somebody thinking a little bit, no offense, outside of the box, I guess, here. And certainly it is a sustainable building type. You're reusing a already prefabricated container to do this. I am somewhat sympathetic of the non-conforming lot. I'm surprised that it even exists that narrow. And as an architect, I respect and appreciate the creativity to create sort of a very, I think, a simple solution, but probably a very effective one for a lot that's actually shaped a lot like a container. Yeah.
Anybody have any questions? Or if we'd like to bring it back for a vote? Or a motion, sorry.
No, I was going to make a comment.
Okay, go ahead, Fred.
I too was intrigued by what was there, but I think that we need to go, that the Board of Adjustment has to follow the fact that any variance can't be self-created, and unfortunately, this is one that is self-created. It would be the only two-story building in a neighborhood In the past, we have respected the impact of a two-story building on the adjacent neighbors, and I think this does exactly that. It does impact the neighbors. So I'm not inclined to vote for it, but I certainly do appreciate the fact that you're trying to do something different.
Okay, in that case,
Well,
Pat?
my comment, sort of along the lines of Fred's, is that, it is a very tiny, non-conforming lot, and there is somewhat of a hardship to not be able to use it, and your product is very nice.
Yep.
But it's a duplex, so it's like, it's sort of in your face in terms of it's too much. I mean, if you had come in and this was a single family, I might feel differently, but you have a 30-foot wide lot and you're going to have a duplex on it, it just is too much and too small of a space.
Okay. Well, let's at least take a motion and see where we go. Does anybody like to make it?
Go ahead, Fred.
Go ahead, Fred. You're all being voted to make the motion.
I'm not even caught up to it. I'm sorting through what's there.
That's right. Put the microphone on, though.
I'll make an attempt at it.
Go ahead, Milton.
Move section 47-5 period 36, table of dimensional requirements for RMM-25 district. That's good.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion and second. Any further discussion? Okay, Jimmy?
Mr. Agopian?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
No.
Ms. Rathburn?
No.
Mr. Stresso?
No.
Chair Elfman?
No. Motion fails.
Failed 1-4.
Before you take the vote on the non-conforming lot, given the comment from Ms. Rathburn with regards to the potential of looking at a single family, would suggest giving the applicant an opportunity to withdraw at this time, particularly understanding if he receives the denial on the non-conforming lot issue, he may not be able to readdress that with the board for the single family, if that is the desire. So,
Well, let's ask the
Chair,
applicant.
if you feel that like giving the applicant an opportunity to consider that at this time before you take up that matter.
Thank you. You've heard what the city attorney said.
Well,
Would you like that opportunity? Would you like that opportunity to
Well-
withdraw and revisit?
that taught me to always listen to the lawyer.
So
Yeah,
please-
let's withdraw, please. Yeah, and then we reconsider if we're gonna resume it as a single family. Of course, need to talk to the developer and
Okay.
see how it goes, but yes, please withdraw.
Thank you. And we would need a vote for the withdrawal, or no?
No vote necessary.
Okay.
Let the record reflect that the applicant has withdrawn his variance request with regards to 47-3.3.B2 non-conforming lot.
Okay, thank you, Dwayne. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, next case number 2408007, 415 Northeast 16th Avenue. Do we have an applicant? Hi,
Is this thing on?
it is.
My name's Tyler Colby. I'm here on behalf of Assurance Power Systems and Brian Murphy at 415 Northeast 16th Ave.
And I'm sorry, right before you give your presentation,
No
I did
problem.
forget to ask for disclosures. Milton?
I don't have any.
Fred?
Site visit?
I did a site visit as well. Jason?
Nothing.
Pat?
Nothing.
Okay. And please go right ahead.
On behalf of the Murphys, we're requesting a variance to allow a generator to be placed on the front corner yard of the property. The requested variance, we're requesting a reduction of about 8 feet from the 25-foot front yard setback to be 17 feet. It's a pretty unique corner lot where they only have one front yard and one side yard, where in the side yard a swimming pool already exists. It looks like without this location that we have in mind, there would be no other alternative. There's some unique conditions too. So the Murphys purchased this house. It's 3 stories with an elevator, which they wouldn't have purchased since they're aging, especially Mrs. Murphy really needs the elevator to get up. There's also some medical conditions and prescriptions that have to be refrigerated at all times.
Okay, is there anything else you want to add, or is that pretty much it?
Generator's going to be behind a fence directly next to the existing pool equipment, completely screened with clusia hedges and behind an existing fence, so not visible from the street.
Okay, thank
Is there
you.
anything else I should add?
I think you did pretty good, but we'll see
Okay.
if there's any questions come back
All right,
up.
sounds good.
Is there anybody from the public wishing to speak to this matter? Okay, then I'm going to bring it back to the board for any questions. I do want to make a comment. I do pass by this home every day, and I kept on trying to figure where you would put a generator if you had any other option, and personally, I don't think you have any other option. So that's just my observing after passing by constantly while seeing the sign for 2 months. But I will like to ask the board if they have any questions or make a motion.
You indicated that the generator is going to be screened from the public, but that other, I don't know if it's pool equipment or whatever it is, that's certainly not screened. That's really sort of ugly to look at. So how can we be sure that you're screened?
Well, we could do both.
Sorry. Okay. Did you want to come up, and did you want to state that for the record? And were you sworn in on that as well?
You need to speak in the microphone.
So we'll have you come up there to the microphone and reiterate.
I mean, because it may be a pet peeve of mine, but I see that at usually duplexes or townhouses where they just leave all this equipment out in the front for people to look at, and it's.
Yeah, my name's Brian Murphy, and that pool equipment, as far as we're concerned, we wouldn't even want to pull, but we have it, and we would screen it so it wouldn't be visible to the public at all.
Okay, so you'd screen that and the generator?
Yes. We plan to do that too, as well as other things like garbage cans. We'll have that screened too, that you don't see those, but we do, so.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I can commit to screening that entire area there with those same clusia hedges to knock out 2 birds with 1 stone. We didn't install the pool equipment originally, but we're happy to put the hedges around it.
Okay.
Board, you may want to consider that as a part of your condition if you so choose to approve the variance.
And, yeah. And the screening will run across that fence line too, so that the neighbor doesn't have to look at it?
Yes,
Okay.
we should be able to do all 3 sides.
Comment before you make a motion, Pat. Throughout that whole neighborhood, there are many, what I would call low walls that are masonry rather than the fencing. And I really have a problem with people that say they want to put in fencing and put some landscaping in it, because 10 years down the line, the landscaping is gone. And I frankly would like to see some sort of a low wall that screens this from the street that's indicative of the same finish as the building. I think it can be done fairly easily and more expensive than the fence, but it's permanent. I don't
Sure.
know whether you can develop the airspace around.
That would be the only concern. So with the generator, we need 3 feet of clearance from the sides and the front.
Well, I don't know that you can do that.
I'm not sure, I really would need to look at that because I haven't considered a block wall.
Well, let's see if it makes it into the motion anyway.
Sure.
Would, just a question.
Sorry, speak in the microphone if you would, because it's being
Excuse me,
recorded.
Just a question on a wall. Could the wall be PVC, like fencing, in your mind?
I guess I'd like to, because it is unique, and trust me, I did what everybody else did. I looked to see if there was any other solution, and there's not. I just really think that the wall is really permanent. The PVC tends to degenerate over the years.
Well, excuse me, that, I lived on Riviera Isle for 25 years, had a PVC fence there. It's still standing. That's fairly permanent. I'm not trying to be argumentative, I'm just saying, if you do it right, this PVC.
Bert, you got any suggestion here? I don't want to put you on the spot, but
Well, I'm just concerned that you might be asking him to do something that might create another problem. And I don't have any answers on whether it's okay or it's not okay, so I just wonder, I don't know if the wall's gonna create an issue where they might need a variance for something for that, or, fence to fence, I don't think should be a problem, because the fence is there already. I don't know if it's a 52-inch height fence, which allows it to be less than the 3 feet from the property line.
all right.
And
You
other things
you
like that. I
convince
just
me.
don't know if that's gonna create a problem
You
in the future.
convince me.
That was my concern as well, is that we might be creating a monster here, that he wouldn't be able to get a permit for a fence in that location, so.
Okay, Pat, well, while you're on, why don't you make a motion based upon any conditions they may have?
Yeah, I'm going to make a motion to approve the variance as requested, provided that conditioned on the applicant's voluntary offer to screen both the existing pool equipment and the generator from the street and the side yard neighbor with substantial vegetation.
Second.
And believing with that it meets the criteria for the granting of a variance.
Excuse me, just to clarify, do you want the pool equipment to have shrubbery, or can it be something else like some type of enclosure?
As long as you can't see it from the street.
Do you want to
that's what
restate
I'm
that
asking.
to make the flexibility, Pat? Because right now you're saying strictly shrubbery,
Yeah,
and if he wants to
well,
do a
it's
fence, he
I
can't.
said vegetation, or other screening device.
Yeah, I don't mind the vegetation, but on one side is a sidewalk, and there's no room for.
I was going to bring that up as well. So the actual pool equipment, we would only be able to screen the front and the right
Well,
side.
and
of the
that's
pool.
actually all I said, was that
Oh,
you
okay.
screened it from the street, because that's the front view, and you screen it from the adjacent neighbor at 415, is that?
Well, they would be 1507 Northeast, but they could, from their house, unless we, I can't show you, but there's a walkway up to the door, and the pool equipment is right there. We'd need to put some type of enclosure in there, and I don't believe a shrub could do it, because there's no room.
Do you want to see a bit?
That's the view I'm looking at, and, yeah. So my concern was that it be screened from this neighbor here
That's no problem.
This is what I'm
and from
saying.
the street.
True sides. Yeah, that's no problem at all.
That's what I would do. So you put something there, so you could screen it from there. We could put shrubs along here, but here, we would need to put,
Yeah, unfortunately,
Well,
only part of the audience is seeing,
Yeah,
part is
I'm
not.
only asking for screening on the side where the neighbor is, and in the front, here and here.
okay, but there's a neighbor over here. This is me, but there's
Yeah,
a
they're too
neighbor.
far away.
Okay.
So right now I have a very, I'm confused by the motion. Jamie,
Okay.
could you,
right.
could you maybe repeat back
I'm
what you
gonna
have,
repeat it.
or Pat, do you want to restate it?
Based on the applicant's voluntary,
Proffer.
thank you, proffer to screen the existing pool equipment and the proposed generator from the neighbor to the, is that the west or the east?
The east, right? Oh, which side?
The generator faces the east.
This fence.
That fence would be,
Against the driveway.
I don't know. I need to look.
Hey,
You're saying this neighbor right
Yes,
here?
right.
Okay, that is
just,
north.
Okay, thank you. Now I'm confused.
Me
To
too.
screen the generator and the pool equipment from the
Street.
property line to the north and from the street.
right, that's it.
Okay.
Based on that proffer, I believe they meet the criteria for the granting of the variance, and my motion is to grant the variance.
Jason, you still have a second on that?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Jamie, if you could take the vote.
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Rathburn?
Yes.
Mr. Stressa?
Yes,
Chair Elfman?
Yes.
Passed 5-0.
Thank you. Motion passes. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Next case, case number 240-80008, 1741 Northeast 58th Street. Like to see any disclosures. Milton? Fred?
site visit?
Okay, I have none. Jason?
None.
And Pat?
None, none.
Okay.
Good evening. My
evening.
name's Richard Coker, representing the applicant. I'm here with Frederick Barth, who is also representing the applicant, and the applicant is here, Mrs. DeVove. I'd like to hand out a couple, an aerial and a survey. As part of the backup, I just want to highlight these things, if it's okay.
Okay, sure.
What happened to the good-looking lady that does that?
How are you?
Great.
Thank you. And you have one for staff as well? Second of mine.
We're here tonight asking for a variance of section 4724.5 A4BI. That's a section of the subdivision regulations that says you can recombine lots without replatting as long as the recombined lots are not lesser in size than the platted lot. In this particular case, lots 16 and 17, if you can see on the survey, and you can see on the aerial also, lots 16 and 17 were combined to a single homestead lot at least over 20 years ago, as far back as we can find out. Over the years, more than 20 years ago, as you can see on the aerial, lot 16, the lot with the house on it, a pool was built and a patio area, and that pool and patio area encroached over to what is basically the vacant lot. In 2024, the lots were recombined, and so that the pool area and the patio area were included within the lot 16, and the lot 17, the vacant lot, was reduced accordingly. And we're asking for a variance to allow that recombination. And let me tell you the circumstances of this recombination. The lots as platted were lot 16, the lot with the pool and the house, was 10,576 square feet in size. This is RS8. The minimum lot size is 6,000 square feet. The predominant lot size in the neighborhood is between 7,000 and 9,500. There are one or two lots in excess of 10,000 square feet in the entire neighborhood, but these two lots are generally the largest lots anywhere near the neighborhood. So Lot 16 was 10,576 square feet as platted, and Lot 17 as platted was 11,569 square feet. Because of the existing pool that's been existing for over 25, 30 years, the recombination of the lots would add 1,178 square feet to Lot 16 to accommodate the pool and the required setbacks. That's the minimum square footage that is needed to accommodate the existing structures on Lot 16. So Lot 16 would be increased in size by 1,178 feet, and Lot 17 would be decreased in size by 1,178 square feet. The resulting recombined lots are still both much larger than the other lots in the neighborhood. And basically what has occurred was prior to the recombination, the vacant lot was a little bit larger than the lot with the house. And with the recombination, they almost exactly switched places so that the lot with the house is a little bit bigger than the lot that's basically the vacant lot. And that's the situation that we have here, that the recombination does not change the size, the relative sizes of the two lots. The recombination does not change anything in the neighborhood. These are much larger lots than virtually all of the lots in the neighborhood. I think there's one about a half a block away that's 10,000 square feet in size, and one that's a combined lot over in the neighboring lot. For the RS8 zoning district. In fact, the RS8 zoning district has a minimum lot size of 6,000 square feet, and these are both lots over 10 and over 11,000 square feet. So we'd appreciate your consideration of the variance application tonight. Fred, would you like to?
No, I think you said it all. Okay, then I'll let you stay there for a moment. We'll see if there's anybody from the public wishing to speak on this, and then we'll bring it back to the board. So is there anybody from the public wishing to speak on this matter? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to bring it back to the board for any questions, comments. Red, I know you have questions. I saw you underlining.
No,
Okay.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Just for the record, that is a Roman numeral 1 versus a I.
Okay.
There's a typo, just for the record.
Okay.
Acknowledged.
Thank you. Jamie, we could.
Ready?
Yeah.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Rathburn?
Yes.
Mr. Stressa?
Yes.
Mr. Hagopian?
Yes.
And Chair Elfman?
Yes.
Passed
Motion
3 to
passes.
1.
good evening.
Thank you. You got to stand up there and watch him give his presentation. Okay, next case number 240-80009. Property address 40 Northeast 16th Place, Disclosures, Milton.
I don't have any.
Fred?
Site visit?
I had a site visit myself. Jason?
No.
Pat?
None.
Okay. You're on, sir. Name and relation to the property.
My name is Abraham Alfasi. I own the property on 40 Northeast 16th Place. I bought this property to build a house for my daughter, and I also own the property right next door to it. What is actually the address is 1629 Northeast First Avenue. Right now is one big joint properties. I'm going to build a house for myself on one, and I'm going to build my daughter the second house. I also own the properties on 114 Northeast 16 Place, but it's further down. I just built it 3.5 years ago. My reason for to us to remove the sidewalk, because nobody in the neighborhood and that side of the street have a sidewalk at all. Also, the same properties were just built right next door, what is right off Andrews Avenue. He never just built it 2 years and a half ago. There's no sidewalk coming in from Andrew. And there's actually no sidewalk in this side of the street all the way to the high school. Okay, there's sidewalk in the other side of the properties and the other side of the street, and it's continue all the way to Andrews Avenue. There's few reasons for me not to have, but I don't want to put that sidewalk. Is first, if I put a sidewalk and there's no connection, people have to go to the street, across the street, and then go one house, and then across the street to go to the other sidewalk. It really doesn't make sense because the entire street doesn't have it. You can see it on the pictures I have. The other reason is because if I really put the sidewalk, that street is always, I've been living there for the last 3.5 years, and I've been visited for the last 5 years, is always, when it's big rain, is always flooded. All the way from Andrews, all the way to the high school, that entire 16th place is always flooded out, and also First Avenue. And if I put the sidewalk, what's gonna happen, from my experience in living there, the ground will wash it, and then the sidewalk will stick out, and it's going to be an hazard for people to trip on it and fall down. That's one of the reasons. The third reason for me not to put that sidewalk is if when we build the house, now I have a problem to slope from the garage because of the new regulation we have. It's a big slope. And then with the sidewalk have to be a three above, and the street is by 2. It's a big slope to get it in. I cannot grade it in one line for the driveway. And second, it's going to be hard because you're going to have to go up, go straight, and then go up again, like a mountain. And nobody else in the street have it. And that's the reason I've been asking from the board to consider it and approve it without the sidewalk. And if you look at the second variance I have, is the next one, and there's any place. Also in the corner for First Avenue, there's no sidewalk. And there's no reason for me to put one. That's the reason I've been asking you. We can do it in the same on the two, number 6 and number 7, I believe. That's my two variants I've been asking.
Okay, and we will take them separately.
Oh, and then I say it again. No problem. Okay. I can repeat myself. That's okay.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Is there anything else? Or
I think that's what I wanted to say.
Okay. Is there anybody from the public wishing to speak? Sure. Yes. Come up, name, relation to the property or address.
My name is Hans Kuhlman, and I live at 110 Northeast 16th Place. First of all, what AB has done to that street, I would invite you to come and look at it because it's just taken this dramatic change. And the sidewalk that he's talking about and asking to not be installed should not be there, mainly because it would be a sidewalk to nowhere. There is no other sidewalks on the street, and on the other side, there is sidewalks, and what really needs to be done is the sidewalk needs to be continued that's there to Andrews Avenue. It makes so much sense. I'm a Broward County school teacher. I watch these kids walk to Fort Lauderdale High School, and something actually needs to be done there on the corner. They should have a crossing guard, number one. And number two, the sidewalk needs to be finished from where it's at to the street. So please, let's not have a sidewalk to nowhere. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? Okay. In that case, I'm going to bring it back to the board. I do want to make a comment, is I did do a site visit, and I know the only other sidewalks were for the townhome development down the street. And the whole rest of the street, I know, does not have them.
Can I say something? Actually, the corner on Andrews Avenue, they're going to be building 11 townhouses and a little shopping center. I was part of the design. I designed it too. And that's going to be a sidewalk. That's going to be continue from Andrew all the way to that side of the street. It's going to be continuous sidewalk all the way.
Okay, I think that answered your question.
Okay. Good.
So, bring it back to the board. Yes, Pat?
Well, my question is, if these other properties were developed in the last couple of years, why, I don't recall them coming to the board for a waiver.
So I'm not 100% sure this is a new code. It's probably been in effect for maybe a year or so. So more than likely, all these other ones were built prior to this code change.
I thought the code has been for years that if you, new construction, you had to build a sidewalk.
No, it's fairly new.
No?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm not a huge fan of sidewalks that don't go anywhere, and I think sidewalks on one side of the street are more than sufficient. I mean, it just seems like more paving. If you've got somewhere to walk and walk your dog and your child and whatever on one side of the street, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to force you to put it on the other side of the street. So, there you go.
Okay, Jason?
I will say, I mean, I've only been on the board for about a year, and I'm estimating that this issue's come up in front of us, in front of me, maybe 5 to 8 times. We've never, ever made somebody put a sidewalk there. But I will say, I mean, to get this into the code, you know, it's a huge effort on the part of a lot of different people, from planning and zoning to the smart growth people to livable cities, walkable cities. And there's a reason why, you know, this is even an issue. So as much as I'm super, you know, I think putting more sidewalks is a good idea. But I understand we have never, at least not since I've been here, we typically have not been requiring applicants to do this. And I don't know what we can do to like have these not come in front of us all the time, but if we're going to consistently be like, what's the point? Then what's the point? Because if we had approved the last 8 projects to put sidewalks, then maybe we wouldn't have sidewalks that go to nowhere because we'd be requiring people to do it. I understand what you're going to say, so you don't need to say it. I appreciate it, but I'm just saying, I mean, I'll support whatever this board wants to do, but I just think it's kind of either the code's incredibly flawed. I mean, I could see this street, it doesn't look to be very busy to me, so I can say like, oh, maybe one sidewalk is enough. But there are situations where there are streets, like I'm on Riverland, you know, you need a sidewalk on both sides. Yes, it's only 30 miles an hour, it goes on for a few miles, but it's still very connect in 5 years, and it makes sense. So it doesn't happen overnight.
Okay, one thing, the house, if you look at it, the house next door, that's a new house from Andrew. There's no sidewalk. Across from it, all the way to the high school. It's a long street, 16 places, pretty long, and is no sidewalk on that side. And most of the houses, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 houses are brand new. They're never gonna change. They're not gonna put sidewalk now. Nobody gonna destroy them and build a new one. The rest of them, most people look like they put a lot of money on those houses, and they're not gonna knock it down. Then I don't see anything in the next 10 or 20 years, but nobody gonna put any sidewalk on that side. That's the reason I will listen. I designed many homes in the city, and I automatically put sidewalk in all of them, or particular disparate properties. I felt there's no reason to it. Okay, that's the reason I asked the board to consideration.
Okay, well, I'm also going to officially close the public hearing at this point. I'm going to entertain a motion.
I think before you do that, I'd like to comment.
Go ahead, Fred.
I'm into Jason's comments about building sidewalks, And when I went up to this site, and it's too bad that we're not taking 7 before we take 6, because the same gentleman is developing Lot 7, or, I'm sorry, the adjacent property to the east. And there exists a relatively large, in terms of 24-inch caliper oak tree that's in the swale that, in my opinion, probably begins to preclude the fact that you would build a sidewalk there and have to take the tree out. But in looking at the site plan for his next building, he has designed it to the point where there is a driveway that enters the project, his adjacent house, that will require taking that oak tree out.
No.
And if you take out that oak tree, and we really need to look at the sidewalk in this adjacent, in the corner property, it would be continuous from Northeast First Avenue, almost all the way over to Andrews Avenue.
Absolutely not.
I beg your pardon?
Absolutely not, because there's a house right over here, and there's no sidewalk, and Andrews Avenue is over here, and there's no connection.
That's not my point. My point is that if we take item number 7, which is your...
It's my second house, it's my house.
We could require a sidewalk because there's an application for a variance for the sidewalk or removal for the sidewalk there. That if we take 7 and look at the sidewalk, that you would then have that lot and the lot that's before us in this item would have a sidewalk that runs almost that whole south side of the lot. Of the
No,
block.
but it's going to nowhere, because
It
across from
it
it
goes
is
to
another...
Andrews Avenue, which happens to be the busiest street in Fort Lauderdale.
Andrews Avenue, yes, you're absolutely right. If there's property here from Andrews Avenue, you're not gonna see me standing over here and ask for it. And that they just build this house. If the city cannot go ahead, and you know it's happening in other cities, okay? I've been working in South Florida for 43 years. If the city cannot put the sidewalk themselves, and you cannot pay for it, you can go ahead and put a sidewalk right next to it and continue it all the way to the street, all the way to the high school. God bless you guys.
Okay.
But I own the property and nobody else have a sidewalk, I'm not gonna pay for it. And there's a case, but I can hold on, I can give you the case. And he went, and those people went and spent maybe $100,000 in lawyer fee, and to sue the city, and the city pay for the sidewalk, and then you can be forcing the. I don't want to do that.
Let's bring it back to the board.
Dwayne, I have and hear that one because I'm going to make the same comments about the sidewalk on that, and it in fact does connect across the street diagonally to everything along the Spanish
You're absolutely
developments.
wrong. You're absolutely
Sir,
wrong. I'm so sorry.
The public hearing was adopted in 2022, and it is the policy of the city, and it has been the policy of the city for the installation of sidewalks. The code was revised in 2022 because the city has found that the installation of the sidewalks wasn't going as intended. The reason why it's before the board is that it recognized that a general requirement for all residents to install the sidewalks, there needed to be some kind of, and that the members of the public may come to you all and seek a special exception from this code section if they demonstrate that there's a unique circumstance particular to the property at issue. And that's kind of going to your question, reason why he does not need to install a sidewalk on this particular property is because of a circumstance unique to this particular property. I understand that you want to globally look at the block, and that may have been a part of your consideration, but the question is there a unique circumstance pertaining to this property that would warrant a special exception from this requirement to the installation of the sidewalk?
And that unique situation goes away if we require a sidewalk on his adjacent property, because now it connects. That's my point.
Understood.
So it does not necessarily stand by itself.
It's at the pleasure of the board.
That's that's the question that I asked.
You've had the public hearing. You can table the item and take up the other item if that is the pleasure of the board. But picking this item back up after you hear the other item, and you may want to consider the rest of the agenda if that's in terms of shuffling the order of these items, if that's important for your consideration.
If that's the decision, I would make a motion that we table this particular item until we hear number 7.
Jason, did you have a comment as
Yeah,
well? I know there's a motion.
Just to kind of echo, you can't, the unique condition that I don't have sidewalks on either side of me becomes a moot point. It kind of like, they are intermittent. There's no other sidewalks on the whole street. It's like, yeah, but if you did sidewalks, we'd have 4 houses connected with sidewalks. That's how it works.
I have 5 and they're not connected.
I'm going to second Fred's motion to table this
Okay.
till
Let's
after
see.
we hear the next item.
Okay. Can we do a verbal vote on this, or do we need to have it called?
A roll call, please.
Okay, Jamie.
Ms. Rathburn?
Yes.
Mr. Stressa?
Yes.
Mr. Hagopian?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Chair Elfman?
Yes.
Pass 5-1.
Okay. That's going to be tabled. Let me call the next case and stand right there. So the next case number 240800.
My name is Abraham Alfasi. I own the property, what is 1629 Northeast First Avenue. It's a corner of 16th Place, Andrews Avenue, and not even to the other side, all the way to the high school. The same thing on First Avenue. There's no other sidewalks at all. Then I really think I should never put it. For the second reason, the corner is always flood. That's the reason my new building will be sitting on stamp wall, and it can be much higher from the street. I have to bring it almost to 8 foot high, and the street is at 2. Okay, then it'd be very hard to get into the garage. Even if I redesign it to the other side, it'd be even worse. If I put the garage on First Avenue, it's even lower. The street on 16th Street is much higher by maybe 6 or 7, 8 inches or 9 inches. And it's going to be easier to get into the garage. If I put the sidewalk, it's almost going to be impossible to get into the garage. That's one thing, and I don't go to nowhere with the sidewalk again. Across the street is a corner house, but built 2 years ago. There's no sidewalk. After that is my other house and Mr. Hans' house, and all the way to the school is no sidewalk on that side of the street. Then there's no reason for me to put a sidewalk.
Okay, thank you. And I was negligent in asking for disclosure, so I'm going to ask that right now. Milton? Fred?
Site visit.
I had a site visit myself. Jason?
No.
Pat? No. Okay. Thank you. I will invite anybody from the public wishing to speak on this matter. Hans, come on back up.
Just one very quick thing.
Sure, just state your
Very
name again
simple.
because it's all being.
Very simple. Let's keep the kids together on the sidewalk and out of the water. So continue the sidewalk, keep them on the same side, and then crossing the street to get to the other side, to get to the sidewalk, to get to the high school. Keep the kids together on the sidewalk, on the same side of the street. No switching streets in the middle. Keep them on the same side.
And Hans, would you just please state your full name and your address?
Hans William Kuhlman, 110 Northeast 16th Place.
Thank you. Is there anybody else from the public wishing to speak? Okay, seeing none, bringing it back to the board again. Anybody have any comments, questions of the applicant? Fred?
Well, I guess my comment is that on this application, there is a sidewalk on the north side that parallels 16th Place, and there is a sidewalk shown on First Avenue. And
On First Avenue,
there
I don't see
is,
sidewalk.
there are sidewalks along all of the north side of Northeast 16th Place that backs up to Spanish, the townhouse complex. In the next block east-west. And I believe that this is a really good example of the fact that we should be requiring sidewalks to be built. And in this particular case, it's going to be continuous at least across the two lots on the north and to the south. The problem that will be encountered is that the house that is adjacent to this property to the south has put big trees where a sidewalk might go, and I doubt that those trees have been permitted, so it may be possible that somewhere along the way, if that lot on the south side of this parcel is developed, they will have to move those trees. But I think this is an absolutely ideal situation where we should require the sidewalks. I have an additional question, Dwayne, and I have to ask the question, is that if we approve this sidewalk as it is shown on the plan, which does not show a connection at the intersection of 16th Place and First Avenue, does the engineering department going to require the handicap? Because I don't want to get trapped again in the fact that we turn this application down and find that he says, oh, well, I'm just going to build the sidewalk that I showed on the plan.
There's no going no place from the corner.
This is a conversation between me and our attorney, okay?
Yeah. So I'm going to ask this before you continue, Fred. Does anybody else have any other questions for the applicant? And if not, I'll close the public hearing. Okay. In that case, let me officially close the public hearing, and we are just within the board. Thank you, sir.
So just to clarify, you are not approving the sidewalk in any location of the sidewalk. The applicant is coming before you asking that they are to waive or to get a special exception from the requirement for them to provide a sidewalk. They will go through a review process with the city. So you're not approving a particular location of a sidewalk tonight.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Does any board member have a motion?
And thank you, Fred, for bringing this one forward, because I don't know why I didn't realize it, but there are only 3 lots on that section of 16th Place between Andrews and Northeast First. Fan of sidewalks that don't connect. He's got 2 out of 3, and at some point there will be a connection to Andrews Avenue. So,
Wow.
I'm sorry, what?
Can I answer?
No, sorry,
I've closed the public hearing. I'm sorry.
So, in this particular case, this is the only opportunity to have a sidewalk there, and it's not, if this were in the middle of the next block, if this were, further down on 16th Place and it was going to be one house on 16th, I would feel differently. I would feel the way I said I did in the beginning. But because these are 2 out of 3 lots that are going to connect to Andrews, I don't believe that a waiver is appropriate. I'll make a motion to, it's always in the positive, right, Twain? Yeah. 24080010.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, Jamie?
Ms. Rathburn?
No.
Mr. Stressock?
No.
Mr. Hagopian?
No.
Mr. Jones? No. Chair Elfman?
No. Motion fails.
Pass, sir.
Let's rebring back previous case number 16th Place. Dwayne, I'm going to ask you, because this is the first time I've kind of gone back and forth with the same applicant.
Hearing has been closed.
Thank you. In that case, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the waiver as requested.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any further Okay, thank you. Call this 733 Northeast 28th Street. I'll start with disclosures. Milton? Fred? Okay. Report as part of our backup package. Is there anybody from the public wishing to speak on this matter? Yes, sir. Please come up and state your address. In that case, board for a motion or any internal discussion. Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I don't understand that one.
Next case, case number 3001. Are we going to take both these in one, Pat?
Is still a wood frame house, and no matter how much money I will put into it, it will be still a hazard. Yeah. So the intention is to be able to develop anything, just be able to have two separate units. I consider by using the burden, I prefer to reduce size and have something smaller. That's basically my request. If you have any questions.
I just want to do disclosures, which I have not done yet. Milton?
I don't have it. You want comments?
Sure.
The original to add to the motion that it meets the requirements. Wayne?
Where all these new Florida Power and Light poles went into.
Motion and a second.